Hello, good
Hel-
morning, Papa Hector.
Good morning. So, hello and welcome to the show, everyone. It's Papa Hector's podcast, and today we have a special guest here with us, Priestess Shoshana. And as always, go to www.hectorsalva.com, sign up for the newsletter, and all the other great things. So, let's move right into with our special guest, Priestess Shoshana. So, Priestess Shoshana is a world-renowned tribal fusion belly dancer, teacher and instructor, as well as creator of the Sacred Feminine program and a third level Sanse initiate, which is one of the rarest initiations to undergo within our Sanse tradition. And there's very, very few who have achieved this. So, tell us a bit more about yourself and your background, Priestess Shoshana.
Yeah, so thank you. My background in a nutshell is that I was raised in a spiritual family. And because of the dynamic of lost, destroyed, and broken information in all spiritual practices, I was left to my own devices in order to develop myself to better understand the problems that come along with being psychic. So at a very young age, I started developing psychically, spiritually, reading books, whatnot. And then I had the opportunity of working with shamans where I'm from, which is New Mexico. Really fast, I learned that all of the shamanic practices were same, disjointed, disconnected. There was missing pieces. So I went out to travel. And at around 15, I traveled pretty much everywhere I could looking for teachers. I found some amazing teachers. I found people that were really beautiful and meaningful in my life. It helped me, right? But nothing could answer the questions of what really goes on in the spiritual world that impacts us. So I started channeling. I started working with what I had, and I started channeling. I started bringing in as much information that I could to answer these questions. From that, birthed these really great programs, which I called the Sacred Feminine program. That was a 3-year journey to take women into understanding how their energy works, how their emotions work, how the psyche works. And this is really important for your listeners because many people who come into our studies feel like they have spiritual gifts. They feel like they really understand what's happening because they've worked with people or researched, or they have their own channeling mechanisms. So one day I decide that I'm going to dedicate 2 years of my life to researching spiritually, meaning channeling information to understand how to help people develop their psychic gifts. And again, from that birth to thing, which was called the Sacred Feminine program. And it was really successful. As I started healing people, though, more and more people came to me with what we know of as demonic attachment. And as I was healing people in these really great programs, people were experiencing possessions. I literally watched people, their body like start to convulse and to move. And I was removing these energies intuitively as best as I could. About 7 years into doing that work, I realized that I really need to understand how to be protected, right? But for me, I always viewed protection as like a violent act. I had gotten as far as I could get on my own. And I prayed every night for a teacher for about 5 years. I prayed every night for a teacher. And one day a spirit comes to me, one I had never seen before. And she tells me to find Papa Hector. Now, at this point, I had no idea who he was. I had no idea what he was going to teach me. And I had no idea how to find him. So basically did what everybody does. I looked online and kept looking, and the spirit kept telling me where to go and where to look. Eventually, I got a hold of you. We had our first session. Within that first session, Papa Hector was like, told me everything that was going on with me. He was like, you've gotten really far, but you definitely have more to learn. Within the first month after the reading with him, I started studying with Papa, and that was in 2011. I closed down everything that I was doing. It was beautiful work. It was viable. It was important. But I really wanted to dedicate myself to understanding what he had to teach me. So I closed down that work and, worked different ways to make money to pay for my classes. And from that point, I have studied with Papa Hector the entire time, pretty much almost every week, and undergone the correct teachings and the correct ceremonies, not only to allow me to do my path, which is to remove these demonic forces from people, but to be protected and then now to continue to teach, which has just been an amazing journey.
Okay, so you brought up an interesting point. You said that, and I find that this is common with people, that they felt that like self-protection is violent. And what would you have to say about that now and where you were coming from before?
Well, where I was coming from before was I was coming from a false piece of information, which is that in order to be a spirit worker and in order to be quote unquote enlightened, you have to be peaceful. Through studying the Sanse tradition, what I learned is that we all have empowerment spirits, and we all have spirits of war and also spirits of protection. And when those energies are worked with appropriately, you don't have to protect yourself, they protect you. So when you learn how to mount the spirits, that's one level of training. And a level of training below that is just being able to communicate with the spirits, right? So in that communication and in that interaction between a practitioner and their spirits, what gets developed is this really interesting phenomenon, which is that it's not all about you. So we could take this conversation and flip it the other way, which is where people feel like they have to protect themselves, or they feel like they can work magic, or they feel like they can be out there teaching. Really, your spiritual work is not about you. It's about the collective dynamic of your cuadro. And to be a good person as a shaman or a spiritual worker is to allow your spirits to work for you, which means you are quiet, you're peaceful, you listen, you practice, you develop yourself. And if you need protection, your spirits are going to protect you, and they can be violent, but that's what's needed to be a warrior. And, or your godfather, which in this case obviously is Papa Hector, can do the right ceremonies to protect you so that you have the spirits working to support you. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
Definitely.
Okay.
And how was it that you were experiencing life before you had your protection? Like you were clearing demons, you were removing negative entities, You were doing a lot of good work. You were healing. You were removing, negative energies that people were having. You were clearing them. How did that all basically make your life, your experience of life as a result of all that, which called you to the protection?
Yeah. So I had a huge amount of people that I was working with. At any given time, it would be anywhere between probably around 20 people would be in a program. So I was managing too much, and everybody else was getting help, and I was getting progressively more eaten up. I was getting very exhausted. My body was starting to have when you're tired all the time and foggy. Nobody respected me the way that they needed to for the amount of work that I was doing on them. And this is really important because when you go through an initiation process, especially within the Sanse path with Papa, or the 21 divisions path with Papa, or the Haitian path with Papa, when you're a first level initiate, you're going to be put into your place, which means you're a student. You don't help other people. And this is what people make a mistake with constantly, is that they're beyond arrogant. People think they can come and receive an initiation and then they have the right to go out and teach, when really what they're doing is harming themselves and harming other people. So even though a lot of the work that I was doing was accurate and it was in a line, when you're a Sansista, you're born that way. So the work that I had channeled was very much in alignment with the Sanse work, but I hadn't undergone any of the initiations. And it's not my fault because I didn't know that I could, right?
Exactly.
So I don't blame myself, but I take it very seriously. So there's 2 points that I want to point out here. One is that you will be asked to remain in your space as a first level initiate for the safety and the reputation of the work. Because this isn't work that you just go and buy an initiation and go out and become a spirit worker. To be a spirit worker requires many, 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 many years of listening and honestly humiliation and being present to constantly bringing yourself back to, I haven't gotten anywhere and I don't know. I haven't gotten anywhere and I don't know. You put your ego on the back burner. When Papa says you're ready for a second level initiate, to become a second level initiate, and you undergo that ceremony and then the training. So this is my second point. There will be a time when he says to you, you're ready to be a priest. So the ego works both ways. It can make you too arrogant, but it also can make you too humble. And following the path, he's going to support you in your personal empowerment when the time is right. So you don't need to battle it. You don't need to make your decisions around it. It gets made for you via the spirit. To be a priest is to be a conduit for the spirit. And so in both ways, prior to my initiation, I was tired and people didn't respect the level of work that I was working at. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that Papa did for me, which was really life-changing for me, is he empowered me to respect the gifts that I have and to begin to command the respect of the people that I was healing. That was a game changer for me because nobody in my life prior to Papa had come in and said, what I see in you it's beyond what you see in yourself. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to protect you so those gifts get flourished and you will do good things for other people.
And what was your biggest obstacle in,
My, yeah.
going from where you were at to like where you're at now?
I don't feel like I really had any obstacle. I was really clear that when I met you that I was ready to do this.
And since we're here discussing, and it's really rare to have third level initiate in the Sanse tradition because the other lineages have lost these ceremonies and have lost the proper individuals to be able to do them. What was it after? Maybe if you can explain to us what that experience brought to you, brought forward for you, shifted for you.
Well, each initiation shifts everything. So, contained in the first level initiation is the right to develop a proper connection with the right spirits that are going to guide you in the right way. So your life gets reset. You get put onto your life path. And you, as a first level initiate, if you're doing everything correct, your whole life is going to change directions, and it's going to work because it's you working with the mysteries for you. And that chunk of work is so important, because how can one help others when they don't even have a foundation for themselves, right? So the system of Sanse is very pure, and people go through a huge transformation with first level initiation. With second level initiation, for me, opened up this archive of like the capacity to learn the knowledge. So I got to learn, I got to sit with Papa for many, many hours every week. And I archived and I wrote down and I categorized and I understood and I researched him and the mysteries and the healings. And he was graceful enough to teach me treatment. So you get to learn treatments, herbal remedies, the songs, the prayers, the history. And that whole world of second level initiation could take you an entire lifetime, if not many lifetimes, to really commit to understanding how to work a treatment for someone and to have it be effective. That includes learning magic. So I learned magic. I learned how to hold ceremony. I learned how to mount the spirit and how to access our understanding of what's the right diagnosis and treatment for any given situation. So you can see like that in and of itself is enough, right? And I kind of want to go back to this, that most people who get initiated at a second level never learn any of that stuff. Again, they make the mistake of thinking that they can just communicate directly with their mysteries, and that it's just going to, like God, it's going to funnel down and bless you. This is a path of humility. You have to show up and really dedicate yourself in order to receive the knowledge. And Papa will only give you what you're ready to receive, and also will only give you what you're willing to ask for. And that is very, very, very beautiful, because if you can't ask for it, and if you're not humble enough to receive yes or no, then you can't hold the knowledge and then therefore take it forward and teach it. So I want to back what I'm going to say about third level initiation with these two amazing places that I got to dance in and be in. Each step of the way, my life got better, right? When it came to third level initiation, what the transformation was and still is that first level, you're working for yourself. Second level, you are working for others in some capacity. It may not even be as a priest. You can receive second level initiation and have that protection and that mounting of the energies and be a doctor or a therapist or something, even a cook, right? Anything. the point is that it empowers you in what you're supposed to be providing to others. I have a commitment to provide this work in as many avenues as possible, which is maybe why I was allowed to undergo third level initiation, is I didn't have one avenue. I had as many avenues as I could to help people, just for the sake of helping them, because I know what the mystery does. So you're working for people. In third level initiation, it combines the second and the first. So you're working for yourself, you're working for others. But in third level initiation, what opens up is a dimension where you're working not for yourself, not even for others, but with and for the divine itself. And you can't get your head around that. So it's very stressful during the initiation, because you have to be, your whole being gets cracked open and rearranged so that you could be not there, but 100% present, to be of service to God and the mystery for the sake of mystery and God, to serve the temple, the sacred space, and a field of hidden information about how the universe works. That is not something that can be applied to healing people, and it's not something that can be applied to helping people, but it's something that gets applied to a huge space that then when people come around you, or they receive your treatments, or they're receiving an initiation, or even a reading or a magic, the impulse of energy is so strong that it's life changing for everyone. That's the best way I could describe it.
Excellent. So I have a question, a good one for you.
Would you agree with that, Papa?
I agree.
And
100%.
And I also just want to say my personal experience of it, the whole thing, was that it made me feel disconnected and alone. And it's a beautiful thing, because a true shaman, a true spirit worker has that experience, because we see things multidimensionally for each individual. Now, when I look at somebody, all I see is their demons, their angels, their quadro. I don't see them. I see them in the midst of all of it. And I could be looking at someone or talking to them, and I know that I can never convey the experience of what I see in them to their little tiny mind. It's a beautiful thing.
So alongside of this, you grew up around many gurus, teachers of enlightenment, enlightened, quote unquote, individuals, things of this nature. So you know a lot about that background. And many individuals kind of have this belief that that's something that only occurs, with the yogas, the Hindus, the Buddhists.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And they have a very much certain definition of what that is like.
Mm-hmm.
But the definition is being defined by individuals who've never been there.
Exactly.
Okay? It's like someone who is telling you what is blue, who's been blind since birth. They've never seen blue. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So with all that in tow, what can you say to us about this?
Yeah.
About this enlightenment thing?
No, I think it's total racism, basically. That's what I think about it. Basically, people put various cultures on a pedestal based on their culture. You can go down to, some con artist can come up from South America who dresses like an Indian or dresses like a shaman, and they can immediately get 50,000 people to go take some sort of drug in the middle of in the middle of the jungle. Mm-hmm. Somebody from India who calls themselves a guru or who might really have practiced some of their teachings can come in to various cultures, Europe or the United States, and be like, yeah, I'm a guru. And everybody's going to follow along with it. Because our tradition is an unbroken chain of passed down knowledge, first and foremost, it's the best because it has no interruption in how things have always been done. Secondly, most of those like gurus and religions and shamans and spiritual oriented enlightenment communities, their goal is to placate people, to make people feel good, to give them shaktipat, to give them immediate enlightenment. And when it comes to the Caribbean cultures, there's an immediate racism that affects how people view our work, that somehow it's dark, or that it's evil, or that it's basically people don't know, but they don't even give it the time of the day to get to know it. So that's what I think about that.
And would you say
third level initiation gave me access to that enlightenment that everybody's talking about. And enlightenment is not easily reached. And when it's reached, it is epic. It is life affirming and life changing. And a lot of these issues just melt away.
And so would you say that our tradition also provides that path to individuals,
mm-hmm.
even though that's not necessarily what we're associated with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I've started my first initiation path when I was in 4th grade. So I was approximately 9 years old. And I've been, quote unquote, initiated by many different traditions, Wiccan, pagan, goddess. I've worked with shamans very, very deeply. Even in the health communities, they have their own sort of like coming of age, so to speak. You know, like I worked with some Native American herbalists, and they had some ceremonies to recognize like your accomplishment to being a healer. I grew up around gurus, and, you know, my family was responsible for helping to do many interesting things to support the development of our society, like Woodstock and Pacifica Radio. And, you know, so they were an interesting group of people. But in any of those experiences that I had, I never had anybody who was willing to take me down that path each step of the way and really challenge me and support me and love me and get me to the point to where I was ready for a full blossoming and a full awakening. And that process it requires a gentle hand because it's very intense. I mean, you want to think like when you experience an enlightenment, it's everything awakes. Your senses enhance, your psyche enhances, your connection to the mysterios enhance, your understanding of how the world works totally changes. Absolutely, our work as Sansistas and the point of Sanse is to bring somebody to whatever level of enlightenment that they're ready to receive. It is a path of enlightenment. And I hope, although I don't know how things get played out in the universe, right? But I hope that in my lifetime that we get to take this work out and roll out avenues and streams of connection to really give people an opportunity to step on a path that A, works, and then B, is provided by really, really strict and loving teachers.
Awesome. So I want to segue into something else that you do and provide, which is the tribal belly dance.
Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so in our tradition in Sanse, we have what's called a higher guide or a primary spirit guide, and that spirit guide has its responsibility of developing your life path. When you're connected with that spirit guide, you're really clear about things that you're supposed to. And so,
We can't hear you that well.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, my phone squished out there. So we have this, section of spirit guides that in Sanse we recognize as 21 various sections of different types of spirit guides. My spirit guide is a gypsy. And so I've always been drawn to gypsy lore and gypsy dancing and gypsy lifestyles. So the beautiful thing about tribal belly dance is that it's a fusion of the Roman and Gypsy trail. That fusion from the Roman and Gypsy trail includes yogic practices because it originates in India. And then the gypsies went out, they went to Morocco, they went to Spain, and then also up the crest of all over Africa. So tribal belly dance is a culmination of all of these different cultures put together in one art form.
And you've been doing this for a very long time. Can you tell us
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah, I think I've been doing it for like 17, 20 years or something like that. But I've kind of developed my own style of it now, which is like, I call it Serpent Sutra. And it is all about owning your body as a woman, using your hara and the muscles all around your heart and your hara as the core strength for dancing and movement. What I've found is that it's a very good practice for me for mounting the spirits. So when the mysteries come through, they come through kind of abruptly, and it can kind of disrupt your body a little bit. And these practices, because they're designed to get energy flowing in your body and to open up the fascia and to open up the various energy centers, to be a great dancer and a great performer, you have to command energy. You also have to know the physical body, right? So me being the kind of person that I am, I have a lot of certifications in like anatomy and physiology and all that, right, to back up the dancing. But what I have found is that women, and it's true with men, right, but with dance, we kind of work mainly with women. They have so much trauma and anger, regret, judgment, and frustration, competition that's literally lodged in their body, right? And when you start to move in belly dance, you're moving these very small little movements in a very specific, sensual, sexual way. In order to really hold those movements so that you're not pouring the sexual energy out, so that you're allowing it to fill yourself and to nurture your own vessel, that's a whole shift that takes place for women in my classes. When that happens, women go through a healing process. So part of what allowed me to give really good healing. Hi.
Hey, we lost you there for a second, right?
Yeah.
But we ended on part of what allowed you to offer really great healing work was.
Oh, yeah. was the understanding of how important it is to bring the energy into the body so that the energy fuels and feeds the body. And so many women, and you see this with spiritual work as well, less trained spiritual workers, and in just the dynamic of women is to pour energy out, to use the sensual sexual energy to pour it out, or to funnel and competition out. So the whole way that people work with energy is to pour it out. When your life force comes into your body and nourishes your muscles, it nourishes your bones, and you redirect that energy to come inside and to hold it internally, healing begins to take place rapidly. And dance is an access for that because dance challenges the psychotomy. It challenges the mind of the woman. It challenges the body to go beyond where there's levels of comfort. And it allows women to look in the mirror at themselves and to really become present to the beauty of what they are. Now that in combination with a spiritual aspect, meaning that there's a lineage of gypsies and a lineage of dancing women that, walked those desert roads, it is one of the most fun, personally empowering, and life-affirming things that somebody can undergo is to learn this dance form in a sacred space and with a really great teacher.
Awesome. And so, can you please provide us all of your contacts? We know that you can get a hold of Priestess Shoshana at priestessworks.com, but I believe you also have something for belly dance. There's a whole bunch, right?
Yeah. So on my website, it's www.priestessworks.com. There's a link on the front page to my dancing page, and the dancing page is online, and it's a growing archive of physical knowledge, spiritually based knowledge, and then also health. So that's like where I can provide health coaching for people. I worked as a medical intuitive for many, many years, and health is just such an important part to being a priest. So that's my avenue for that. And then we have other things on the website. We have initiation path. The initiation path begins with a 10-week course. Inside of that course, you receive coaching from Hungon Hector and myself. And then initiation is provided after that 10 weeks. And that's the beginning. That's not the end all be all. That's the beginning to your path. But now is such a time that people are going to be reaching out for information. And I believe the majority of our students going forward are going to be really amazing people, great practitioners, people who have already learned a lot, but are in a similar position that I was in, which is a position of like not having enough information to really make their life tick and make their life work. That's on my front page as well. But what I would love to end with, and I'm sure we're out of time, is I would love to end with, because this interview was unexpectedly a lot about me, and I'm not used to talking about myself. So what I would love to end with is something around like really like what we provide to people. I have seen Papa and his entire crew of people make one miracle after another. I've seen the spirits reach into people's bodies and pull out like things outside of the body. I've seen people come in with the craziest of ailments, like where there was this one lady where her body completely blew up like a balloon, and then it would go back down. Like her arm would be like one size, and then she could feel what she thought was like a demon in her, and the arm would expand to about the size of a, what would you say, Papa, like a basketball, right?
Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge. And then it would kind of go back down. Within a couple of days, this woman had been all over the world. Within a couple of days, Papa and his crew healed her, resolved it, got it taken care of forevermore. So what I would love to end with is something around like hope and like really like if you have a need for any kind of healing, whether it be emotional, psychological, physical, or spiritual, like now's the time to reach out for it. We have the cures.
Awesome. Right, so thank you for being with us here, Priestess Shoshana, and sharing all of this for everyone.
Well, I'm absolutely blessed. And the student is only as good as the teacher. And nothing I have ever done has anything to do with me. It's all because of the love that you have for your work and the commitment that you have to the mysteries. And I just really appreciate being interviewed, and thank you for the conversation, Papa.
Thank you. All right, everyone, that concludes this episode. God bless everyone. Keep the faith. Check us out on hectorsalva.com, where you can sign up for everything else, newsletters and YouTube and yada yada. And keep the faith, everyone. Many blessings.
God bless.